Hey guys, what's going on? It's Ash here coming at you today in Raid Shadow Legends. As you'll notice, I am on my free-to-play account here, Vexthal, today. Gonna start the video on my free-to-play, move to my main account in just a moment here. But this is where I'm doing the majority of my farming right now. This is where I'm focused on kind of the early to the mid game. In the early game of Raid Shadow Legends, you should be focused on upgrading your first champion to 6 stars, getting them fully ascended, getting them fully masteried out, and then you want to work on kind of forming your first team. We're gonna help you in that process today, and updated guide here in 2021, really talking about all the major elements that you guys will have to factor into when upgrading one champion inside this game. Raid Shadow Legends is an incredibly fun game, but it's also a serious grind, so efficiency is your friend, both in terms of time and in terms of resources. Today, we're going to provide everything that you need to make sure you're not making any big mistakes and you're using the best methods possible in every area when upgrading a champion. So again, a quick disclaimer here, you know, we talk about upgrading a champion. The biggest mistake you can make in this game is upgrading the wrong champion because of that time and resource investment. So put a lot of thought into every champion, and really, like buying a car, you know?
No one has ever been richer than you are at this moment. What would it take for you to feel secure?
More.
And sadly, that comparison is not that far off here, right? But like buying a car or a house, sleep on it usually when deciding your next champion to invest in. You'll see on my account here, heck, I have legendary champions I haven't really invested in much. I have an entire roster here of amazing epic champions as well, and rare champions that I just have not invested in yet, because I am a big believer, especially in the early to the mid game, especially as a free-to-play player, that you should be very selective. Sometimes a great champion who has all 5-star reviews, who's a top 20 champion on tier lists, isn't the right answer for you. You need to think about a well-balanced team first and foremost inside this game. So as I said, a quick disclaimer on anything that we mentioned today, because the worst mistake that you can make is investing in the champion that you don't need right now, a champion whose role you already have covered. So start to identify the major roles inside of your team before you even thinking about upgrading a champion. We're talking about a support champion or 2, a crowd control champion or 2, a debuffer, decreased defense, decreased attack, a crowd control, like I mentioned, a stun champion on your team, and of course, 1 or 2 damage dealers. You don't need to overdo it, and I think that's a common mistake in this game of kind of assembling a team with 4 or 5 damage dealers. You don't need that many nukers, guys, as fun as it is to build out those champions. So if you're new to the channel, the 3 factors that we always talk about when deciding which champion to upgrade is their end game viability, their overall versatility, how many areas are you going to be using them in inside your game, inside your account, on your teams, and then in the early game it's going to be pretty much everywhere, right? And then C, their value over replacement if you're using them to replace another champion. You should upgrade the champion who has more kind of check marks next to more of those categories as possible. That's usually your answer, assuming it fits into a well-balanced team. So how are you upgrading these champions, Ash? Stop talking about which champions to upgrade, even though that's very important, and let's start talking about how to upgrade them. So in the very early game, we'll be quick here because I know a lot of you guys probably already know this stuff, but you're gonna start out in campaign, normal, hard, and then eventually brutal. Now, along the way, you should essentially just work on, once you reach that plateau, once you reach that roadblock where you can no longer progress, just go a few levels back and then hit stage 3. Stage 3 is good to farm on any single stage in campaign because shields sell for slightly more silver than any other artifacts. So it's better to farm stage 3, even though you get a little bit more experience from stage 6. In my estimation, stage 3 is where it's at. That way you get a little bit more silver too, because silver is hard to come by inside this game and you still get a lot of experience. So you should basically be farming stage 3 of any level until you can get all the way to brutal stage 12 or level 12, stage 3, okay? So you go into stage 3, and this is what it looks like. You have your campaign farmer. For me, it's Kale. I'm sure for a lot of you guys, it's going to be Kale. Right now, picture the experience as a bucket with 100% experience in that bucket. Right now, it's all going to Kale. If I put, say, a graybeard in there. Now it's going to go 50% to Kale, 50% to graybeard. But Kale doesn't need any experience, so we want to be efficient here. We don't want to waste 25% experience right now going extra to Kale. Instead, we want to use 4 champions here, or total. So you can see now all 4 of these champions are getting 25% experience each. That's what we want to see, and 12-3 Brutal is the most efficient way, even if you're inside the end game, to farm experience in campaign. That's a big caveat, because we're about to graduate from campaign to how to farm experience inside the middle in the end game in every dungeon in this game. This should be a priority for a lot of you guys probably watching this video right now, is to start getting used to the idea of transitioning one of your champions off of your 5-man or 5-woman teams and make those food champions.
You give up a few things, chasing a dream.
It's a little bit counterintuitive, because in normal dungeons or in potion keeps, basically anywhere in the game, they give us 5 slots, and the intuition is just to use 5 champions. However, you'll see almost every endgame player wants to get to the point where they can farm dungeons only using 2, 3, or 4 champions. That way they're always working on farming food or leveling up champions that they want to in the background while they're already farming anyway. The experience isn't going to be as much as you see on stage 12-3 or most stages inside the campaign. However, for optimization, for energy optimization, that's the best bet, to always be farming inside this game. So before we take a quick look at what the end game farming looks like for experience, let's go ahead and take a quick look at where you're going to be getting all of these food champions to begin with. It's going to be mystery shards. So you can see I'm going to summon 10 mystery shards here. I might get a rare if I'm lucky. Likely all commons and uncommon champions. We pull 2 uncommons and a bunch of common champions. Totally cool. So mystery shards can be gotten a lot in campaign and mission rewards, and you can also buy them in the market, and I would advise you guys go ahead and buy them in the market as well, because once you buy an item in the shop every day, you'll complete the quest and get 5 arena tokens and 5,000 silver and some experience as well. So I like getting my mystery shards in the market as well. Gives me more food to work on. Now, once you level up food, then you can start feeding those food champions into the champion that you actually want to upgrade. So I think I might have a champion ready to upgrade. Actually, I just did Achek the Wenderin. That's a shame there. But let's see if we have anybody else who is ready to upgrade here. So I have a Painkeeper who I could probably upgrade the rank there. I actually have some chickens that I got from an event here on the free-to-play account. So let's go ahead and use these chickens. Now, normally it wouldn't be chickens. You will come by a decent amount of chickens inside this game, just from Doom Tower, from events, from tournaments. However, normally these are going to be the food champions that I don't have ready for this video that I probably should have, right? So again, I'm going to be using all those food champions that you just saw me focus on Kale to upgrade and rank up my champions. Again, just be careful and be very, very sure that it's the right champion that you want to upgrade. Now, before we move on to how to best farm potions inside the game and talk about masteries, I want to show you some quick end game farming strategies. All right, guys, here on the main account now, what I want to show you is end game dungeon food farming strategies. You can do this for food, and obviously you're going to have to level up the champion that you're actually working on as well. Make sure you go ahead and do that, and never neglect food. When it comes to potion keeps, when it comes to farming food, you always want to be working on that, even if it's just a little bit every single day, versus just focusing on leveling up the champions that you want to actually use, and then you're stuck without any food and without any potions. So me, as we take a quick look into the potion keeps here, I always want to be working on potions, and you'll see that the affinity potions rotate on a daily basis. So every day, I like to try to allocate maybe about 10 to 20 of my auto attacks or on my auto battles to potion keeps if I remember to do so, okay? And then the rest, I'll focus on a dungeon where I want artifacts. Everybody's different. Some people just alternate, or some people just have a couple days a week where they just grind potions. But me, I never want to be be in that position where I really need void potions, and then it's going to cost me 300 gems to open up the dungeon, lest I wait, 3 or 4 days for it to open up otherwise. So just an important note on potions, it will really behoove you guys to always be working on potion keeps, even if it's just the first few levels. But of course, now that they've added new levels, this applies more towards the end game, but 15 to level stage to 20 is the place to be. Definitely most optimal to farm stage 20 of all of the potion keeps once you can eventually get there. Otherwise, just go for the highest dungeon that you guys have. And again, don't even be afraid of these early dungeons. To get to stage 8 is going to be important because that's the first time that you can actually get the superior arcane potions, which are by far and away the most valuable, and that applies to all of the potion keeps. So your first order of business should be getting to stage 8, which is fairly easy to do. I'm able to do it easily on my free-to-play account as well, only after a month or so of playing, maybe even a little bit sooner than that. So let's take a quick look at Dragon's Lair, and as I do, I want to mention a very, very important point about upgrading champions based on their rarity. I think a lot of people have the inclination of looking at a legendary champion and thinking, wow, they must be a lot better. That's not necessarily the case, A. Legendaries aren't always better than epics, and epics aren't always better than rare champions, and heck, rare champions aren't always better than some uncommons a la Shield Guard and Armiger, right? So take that into consideration, but also, and this is really crucially important, recognize the fact that it's much easier and faster and more efficient to upgrade champions of lower rarity. The lower that you go, the easier it's going to be, the less time and the less resources it's going to take. So if you can find those hidden gem, epic, rare, and uncommon champions, it's going to be so much less intensive on your time, your resources, and if you spend money on this game, your money ultimately to invest in those. That's why me personally, I'm always after those rare game changers, and I'm not afraid either to focus on farmable champions early on, such as War Maiden, as your starting champion Kale, and as Diabolist, champions that you can easily get, Armiger, Shield Guard that you can easily get from campaign. Those are a few of the game changers early on that I am not afraid to invest in because, again, they're easier to upgrade. If they were legendaries, I would pass on them because it's far too much resources to put into those champions, given that they're not incredibly endgame viable, not all of those champions at least. So here we go, guys. I have a 2-man team for Dragon 25, which isn't the most efficient. If you're after efficiency, Dragon 24 is the best to go, but because of the affinity matchup, I'm able to go in with Tomb Lord and Bad Alcazar endgame champions. But again here, guys, I'm just showing you this as an example. You can easily run 4 champions, and if you can't do it in Dragon's Lair, heck, try it in a potion keep. You can still get experience, you can still level up food inside a potion keep as well. So really, besides scroll farming, there should really be nowhere in the game that you're not looking for opportunities, and obviously like clan boss, PvP, stuff like that, right? Faction wars. There should be nowhere in the game in terms of traditional dungeons that you're not looking for those chances to add in those extra food, those extra champions that you're trying to level up to your team. That way it will all add up. Heck, all the farming that I do on a team like this is going to be overnight anyway. I leave my phone or my computer on, and I just use my auto attacks that you get anyway every day for free, right? You get 30 on your I get 30 on my free to play, and I get 100 on my main account using Raid Pass. So I'm using all those attacks when I'm sleeping, or when I'm at the gym, when I'm in the shower, whatever, right? I'm not in front of my device watching all of these runs repetitively, so it doesn't really matter how long it takes. So why not be efficient here and be farming up food at the same time? All right, guys, so I'll come at you at the end of this run, and we'll talk a little bit about scroll farming. All right, guys, so not too bad here, 2 minutes and 30 seconds, as I said, and look at this. We got a bunch of levels on all of these food champions that we're leveling up to sacrifice for another champion eventually. Essentially, these champions, Berserker, Spirit Host, and War Priest, are my food champions. Nothing wrong with using rare champions that suck as food champions. Just make sure you're always also investing or leveling up your uncommons and your commons, because you're going to have to sacrifice those, ideally into the rares, to sacrifice into the rares that you want to actually use, or the epics that you want to use. In the early game, when you're not really sure who's good and who's not, your best advice is to save your rares until you kind of get a grasp at what abilities abilities you're looking for on a balanced team. So there we go, guys. Let's see if this is any good. Nah. Okay, let's talk about scroll farming. I want to walk you through my tactic first, guys, when it comes to Minotaur's Labyrinth. So on the Labyrinth, what I like to do personally is purchase, even on a free-to-play account, purchase my first champion's scrolls. It's so much easier that way. So once I have one champion's scrolls totally maxed, I can essentially farm scrolls and they'll all go to the other champion or champions on the team. For example, let's say that I have Bad Alcazar totally maxed out, which I do in terms of masteries. None of the scrolls are randomly gonna go to a champion who's already maxed out. So what I did, even on my free-to-play account, was I used all the gems that you get for free just by playing the game, missions, etc., etc., and I saved up 1,600 gems.
No offense, but how?
And I used all of those gems to buy masteries for my first couple champions. After that, there's really no reason to buy masteries using those 800 gems unless you're just in a super rush or you just have money to burn, because they're fairly easy to farm. You just and that's why it's easier once you have a couple done. It doesn't take forever of grinding, right? You just put a few champions who already have their masteries done, like basically throwing in anybody here. And then throw in, let's just say that I really, really wanted to upgrade Seneschal. And Seneschal does not have any of his masteries done. So I'll put him on a team, whether it's 2 or whether it's 4 champions, it doesn't matter. I'll put him on a team with other champions that do have all of their masteries, all of their scrolls done, and those scrolls are gonna go directly to Seneschal or to the champion that I'm working on. One quick disclaimer though, or a caveat here is, it doesn't matter if they're dead, by the way. Totally cool. Just like getting experience, doesn't matter if they're dead, they're still gonna get it, right? Don't farm food champions in Minotaur's Labyrinth. Obviously, it goes without saying, but it's very important to kind of point out to you guys because they're gonna be stealing not just experience, but also the scrolls that you really want on the champion that you're working on. So this is kind of how it works.
Look at me now. Look at me now.
And my game is glitched out. I hope you guys enjoy the amazing artwork here. Look at the graphics. Wow. Ooh. Ah. So the game's glitched out. I can't. Can I scroll to the? Can I see what's going on? I'm putting poisons on them. I know that. Okay, I'll be right back. I love getting this bug, guys. What a riveting fight. But you guys will see here that all of my potions after he's done leveling up will go to Seneschal, and that's exactly how you should be farming your scrolls. Now let's talk quickly about books before I let you guys go. So again, best place to farm, 12-3. Think about team building elements and aspects. Make sure you're purchasing and using your mystery shards. Of course, you'll eventually get to the point where, you have a little bit of overflow like I do right now. But let's talk about books. Let's switch over to my free-to-play again. All right, guys, so a couple quick notes on books. First of all, again, when deciding which champion to work on, make sure you take a little gander at how many books it's going to take to max them. Right now in Raid Shadow Legends, I hate to say this 2+ years into the game, but it's the truth. There is no reliable way to farm books inside this game. New players right now are like, huh? That's right, there's no reliable way to farm books. You have to, beat the clan boss and hope and pray that you get some books and work on your, your quests. That's about it. So take a look at how many books. Adchek the Wenderin is a champion who I love and I have clearly invested and I made this decision, but you might argue it's not a very wise one. Epic Book's incredibly hard to come by, especially on a free-to-play account, and look at how many books this dude needs. 7 levels on his A3 and 9 levels on his A1, and I really need both of these cooldowns. Cooldowns and plus-minus buff debuff chances are the best things to book on a champion. Some champions might not necessarily require to be booked. They might not have a bunch of cooldowns. So really keep an eye out, especially for cooldowns. That's where the best bang for your buck is regarding books in general in this game. We're looking at cooldown abilities. You can't decide where your books go to, but, things to consider. How many books am I going to have to invest? When you look at a legendary champion, Prince Kaimar was the first legendary I pulled on this account, and I'm still not booked on him. I still have 2 books needed, and that's how many legendaries books I've gotten since I started this account. it takes a long time. That's another reason I'm a little bit more hesitant to upgrade or to invest in legendary champions, okay? So in terms, another good thing about commons, or I should say uncommons and rare champions, is they're easier to come by in terms of rare books. And uncommon champions and rare champions, any champion really, you can use duplicates of those champions to book them, which is really, really good because you end up getting inevitably a lot of duplicates, not just of uncommons, but as you play of rare champions. So using duplicates in many cases is a wise decision because it's going to allow you, especially on rares, to actually use those dupes as books, which is another reason why farmable rare champions such as War Maiden are a very, very good choice in the beginning of this game because you can farm a bunch of copies of War Maiden and use all of those copies into books, save your rare books for your or your starting champion. It's a nice tandem to start things out inside this game. So guys, that's all I have for you in terms of book advice. I think we covered all of the basics in terms of how to efficiently upgrade your champions inside this game. I guess a final note, because I'd be remiss if I went a whole video without talking about my girl, is make sure you're patient and selective, like the third time I told you on champions, because you get a lot of great champions for free inside this game, such as Scylla the Drake. So wait till you get these free champions: High Katoon, Scylla the Drakes, Visix the Unbowed, and Grush the Mangler, Dark Alhain. They're all amazing, and you get them for free just by playing their daily login reward champions. So make sure you're saving resources and preparing on your daily login rewards for all of those champions because they're all very worthy of investing and building even into the late game. Guys, that's all I have for you today. If you enjoyed the content, I invite you to subscribe to the channel. Thank you for watching all the way till the end, and as always, take care, guys.